Any of you remember movies or shows from the 80s at all? I remember quite a few of them. Street Hawk, Knight Rider, The A-Team, but one in particular jumped out at me after reviewing a couple of things that when we were looking for content, because that's what we do. We're too strong. We're supposed to be looking for content. One particular show popped out at me that kind of matches the topic we got to talk about today. How many of you remember Manimal? Y'all remember Manimal? In case you don't remember Manimal, I'll give you a rundown of what Manimal was. Manimal was this guy who could turn into a leopard and sometimes a puma and animals, right? He would just going to save people and just turn into stuff. Okay. There was a show on Netflix about 6-7 years ago called Zoo. Y'all remember that one too? Okay. In Zoo, it showed animals taking over society and what that would look like. Of course, by vicious means, because when a lion comes to knock on your door, it's not going to say, "Hello, can I just get in?" A lion will eat you up, right? So we had brainstorming session, Corey and I, and we came to a very crazy conclusion. Now, we may not always agree, Corey and I, but this one we kind of saw it the same way. What is society doing now? Because I know they butter you up for stuff before they introduce it as being normal. We've always said this. Anytime they want to pass something or make something cool, they normalize it. Everything from jokes to series of shows to movies to the news, they bring it on, butter you up nice and good, or as Corey like to say, the boiling frog effect, where you're in the water and you're just chilling because it's a hot tub, and all before too long it starts a little bit warm. Ooh, ow, ooh, ooh, and then you're like, but it feels so good, I don't want to get and then you're dead. Okay, that's it. Too late. You can't climb out because you tried. Now put yourself in the frog position. You're trying to get out of the pot, right? By that time, the water is warm, but that pot, the rim, frying. You put your hand. Now you're stuck. You stuck. If you remember, about maybe about the time that Zoo show came out, there was this push to allow kids to express themselves. Let children be expressive. And then before too long, kids wanted to be dogs, and people wanted to be dogs and be animals. And now if you go to school and you identify as a cat, they have to treat you like a cat, and you can meow all day and wear the mask and the face and eat cat food. Now, y'all gonna say we crazy and y'all just stretching for content. Okay, good. If that's what you think we're doing, that's okay. But understand this, you can't deny facts.
My son does identify as a cat, but I cannot take him to a vet because I tried that, and the veterinarian told me that because he has human anatomy, that he does not know how to work on him or diagnose him with anything.
I don't care what you want to do, but you cannot deny facts. Here's some facts for you. Since the decline of the schooling system, children have been more prone to mental illness than any other time in history. You couple what happened in 2020 with the pandemic of isolating kids away from friends, which was a great way to build them socially for the world. They lost that. Then you look at the kind of cartoons that some parents plop them in front of. That's also bad. Watch the way society is going. That's also bad. And watch the kind of push that the MAP society and LGBTQ is pushing on them. You end up with a very confused individual. And a confused individual will take anyone's word to try and get out of that confusion, even if it means taking the wrong advice. Sometimes the advice they get is to enact whatever you feel like that day. So Jack wakes up and Jack says, I feel like playing with a doll. You don't hand him a G.I. Joe figure or a He-Man, Thunder Punch He-Man. That was my favorite toy, by the way. Or a Batman water gun, nothing like that. No, you hand him an actual doll. Because you see, you have to start grooming him in a certain way. Lucy gets up and Lucy wants to play cowboy and Indians. You dress her up like a cowboy. Okay. Now, on a normal scenario, I let you pass because there were cowgirls that dressed like that. But here's where the danger steps in. Kid gets up in the morning after being talked to a certain way at school, and he gets up and he says, I want to wear a dress to school. This is not something you taught the kid. Kid says, I want to wear a dress. And mom says, oh, wow. I don't think we'll do that. Then he goes to school and tells the teacher. We've all known that that's a bad thing to have to deal with, right? Good. Now let's put it in the other spectrum. Kid comes home. I want to dress like a cat tomorrow, Mom. Oh, we do Halloween here. That's okay. Yeah, here's a nice cat uniform. Son wants to dress like a dog the next day. Yeah, dress here like a dog. Again, I want you to just follow the trend of thought here. Any child that does not have direction and grounding will start to think of the fantasy world as reality. And if media knows that if it can paint something just nice enough for them to like it, they'll follow it. I grew up in the time when Bugs Bunny existed, Yosemite Sam, Sylvester the Cat, Tweety Bird, the Flintstones, Ren and Stimpy. I grew up with all of them. You know the one thing my mama kept telling me? Life ain't a cartoon. You can watch all the cartoons you want, but life is not a cartoon. You can't just go jump off a building and expect to fly. Do not let these things on you're watching on TV make you believe that you can be what they say they are. That's not the case today. Why? Because for all intents and purposes, when the school system started dumbing kids down, they also dumb parents down. Kids come up with less homework, parents care less. So now you bring in a whole new different variety of things for the kids to follow. One being animal fetishes. You may not want to look at it this way. That's okay. But they normalize before they implement. There are countless schools that allow children to come to school a certain way. There are countless schools that will use this method to make children not think logically through anything. If you don't monitor what your children are doing, you're going to end up with one confused child before you know it, just like that. Slow frog, boiling frog effect. So I know people say we don't come with solutions, so here's a solution for you. Outside of watching what you put in front of your kids, you have to start realizing the trends of society. You have to personally take notice of what they're trying to do. First, introduce the idea. Second, normalize the idea. Third, push the idea. And four, implement it. You have to get the children to make it think it's cool, it's okay. In fact, this might be who you are, and take a mental issue and make it reality for the kids, and no longer can the parents have any say over it. So what's the real goal of all of this, you might ask? It's always been control. We know that part. But I think more so it's to relegate children to the fantasy world permanently. Because a member of society that does not deal with reality, you can manipulate way easier. I'm not saying every child's going to turn out to be a cat or a dog or a bird. But let's not place and think that you can't curve a child's behavior by putting certain things in front of them. A kid could have a natural propensity to be slim. Introduce them to enough sugars and enough fats, and they change the whole composition of the kid. The same way you can do it in reverse. A fat kid, make him a skinny kid. A logical thinking human being is less likely to be deceived than one who has no critical thinking skills. The distraction that we've put in front of kids, from you can be an animal to you can be a girl. Again, listen carefully. They have to get the children thinking along the lines of what they're not. They are not that, and so you have to make them believe they are. And what they are, you have to make them believe they're not. And you can't do that to smart children. Start dumbing them down. No child left behind. Introduce a thought into society. Make sure it's pushed into schools, and then implement it. This goes for everything. The zoo example is a small one. Tell me if you haven't seen on the news where teachers are asked to accommodate a child that thinks it's a dog. Do you remember those? Or the child that thinks it's a cat, you have to allow them to be a cat. Now look, you don't have to believe us. You don't have to follow. You don't have to say a thing. However, if you have not watched this video in its entirety, I encourage you to do. Do not then come and say that we're stretching when you have no concept of what we're stretching to or from. This is very real. It's very, 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 very real. And I cannot emphasize enough the need for parents to step in and parent their children. Because children will grow up to be the adults of society. And when the adults hit that type of behavior as a grown, okay. As I'm saying that, I remember this one older guy who self-identified as a toddler. He was 50. He wanted to be a toddler. So he decided to put himself in Pampers and had a sucker and the works. Bobby tails in his hair. And went to live with a couple. Those are the kinds of children we're going to be raising if we're not careful. Lost in their own minds, completely avoid from reality, and have no concept of who they are further on. And that will leave a door open for society to make them what they want. Everyone thinks it's still fun and games until it becomes reality. Why are you guys so stupid talking about zoos? And the zoo is just a show, man. Y'all are so dumb. Manimal was just a show. Y'all so just because man wants to turn into a bird, it's just so dumb. I don't think it's so dumb anymore when you can literally see people trying to be those things. And honestly, in their heart and head, they believe they are. Well, all I have to say is this, okay? Parents, I'm not talking to the single people. I'm talking to people who are parents. Listen carefully. The world wants anything but you involved in their kid's life. Anything but you. Because you are a hindrance. You are an affront to their plan. You will bring logic. You'll bring nurturing. You'll bring raising. And they cannot have that. They simply can't. And if you give into it and you don't watch for the trends, you're going to be their biggest donor in the destruction of your child's life. You guys say we don't have solutions. Here's one. Find God.